When you hear the words hidden money, you probably think of criminal masterminds stuffing cash into offshore accounts. But here's the twist. The ultra-wealthy often done to break the law at all. Instead, they use complex, perfectly legal structures, built by lawyers, accountants, and governments themselves, to shield assets, minimize taxes, and preserve generational wealth. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on these legal techniques of wealth seclusion. Not to help anyone evade taxes, but to understand the sophisticated financial mechanisms the world's wealthiest rely on and the surprising reason these systems exist in the first place. In the literal sense, wealth seclusion means placing assets behind layers of protection, not to hide wrongdoing, but to create distance between the owner and the asset. And there is a reason this matters. When your wealth reaches the hundreds of millions or billions, you're not just rich, you're a target for lawsuits, political pressures, creditors, and predators. So the wealthy turn to a network of legal tools that provide privacy, asset protection, tax efficiency, and generational continuity. These tools don't hide wealth from the government. They hide it from everyone else, including reporters, business rivals, stalkers, opportunists, and even family disputes. Imagine your wealth as a castle. A trust is the moat, drawbridge, and fortified wall around it. A legal entity that holds your assets so you technically don't own them, even though you benefit from them. The ultra-wealthy often use dynasty trusts to pass wealth across generations without repeated estate taxes, irrevocable trusts to shield assets from lawsuits, and grantor trusts to legally separate ownership from control. The trick is that if you don't legally own an asset, it can't easily be taken from you and may not be taxed the same way. This is the first pillar of wealth seclusion, separating ownership from benefit, so the wealthy still enjoy assets while legally placing them in something or someone else. The second tool is the shell company, an entity that owns things without doing things, and can hold real estate, yachts, art collections, investment portfolios, or intellectual property. An LLC can own a mansion, but an LLC has no face, gender, or reputation. It isn't a person the press can follow or a name you can easily Google, so you can write a story about 123 Holdings LLC buying a penthouse unless you can figure out who is behind it, and often, you can't. This is wealth seclusion, not secrecy. The money is visible, the owner is not. Offshore jurisdictions, often misunderstood as shady havens, are simply countries with different financial rules. Some offering better privacy laws, lower taxes, stronger asset protection, stable banking systems, or favorable trust legislation. Using them is legal as long as everything is reported. The ultra-wealthy use them because one country's loophole is another country's policy. Allowing a billionaire to place assets in a Cayman trust, administered by a company in Singapore while living in New York, effectively playing financial chess across multiple jurisdictions. Again, this isn't about hiding from the IRS, but about placing wealth where laws are most favorable, an option available only to those with the means to hire elite experts. At a certain point, ultra-wealthy families operate like corporations, turning to family offices, private companies that manage all aspects of their financial lives, and to foundations, charitable organizations that simultaneously provide long-term tax advantages, control over large pools of capital, and an enhanced public image. Foundations do real philanthropic work, but they also allow assets to be moved, held, or protected in ways individuals cannot, forming the final layer of wealth seclusion, institutionalizing the family's finances so wealth becomes larger than any one person and harder for outsiders to attack or even understand. Understanding these techniques matters because they shape wealth inequality, tax policy, political power, global finance, and the architecture of modern capitalism. Wealth seclusion isn't about hiding suitcases of cash. It's about navigating and sometimes exploiting the legal structures that govern money, raising questions about who should have access to these tools, whether they protect freedom or concentrate power, and what this architecture says about the world we live in. The ultra-wealthy don't just have money. They have systems that keep their money safe, legally, quietly, and often invisibly, and understanding those systems is the first step toward understanding our economy itself.